Natasha Denona needed a nude palette, and so did the rest of us. In today's video, I am going to be reviewing the new Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. I'll be showing you swatches, I'll show you 2 eyeshadow looks, and we will of course also be doing some comparisons. I have been waiting for this palette like nobody's business. If you follow me on Instagram and you watch my stories, you will see what I'm talking about. I have been descending into madness waiting for this palette, as somebody pointed out. I can't wait to get started. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here and you like this review video, please don't leave without subscribing, and let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I feel like for some reason there was a need for this palette in the Natasha Denona line because everyone has gone crazy for it. It is currently sold out at Sephora, but you can still get it on the Natasha Denona website, and on the Natasha Denona website you can get it with a 15% off code, so you can save like $10–11 off of the price of this one. My code, if you want to use it, is PATTY15. If you add PATTY15 at checkout, you can save 15% off of this palette or anything else you shop for on the Natasha Denona website. Anything you want, 15% off. Anyways, let's see what this box looks like. Very pretty. It is nude with a couple of like reflective little details. Take a close-up look right there. This palette has a 24-month shelf life, and as per usual, it is made in Italy. Let's open up the box. I really like this clear acrylic situation going on right here. Take a look. The palette is a soft matte nude shade in the back as well as underneath the acrylic, but the acrylic makes it really nice and shiny, and I just love the little details they added to the front of it. I think it's really cute. It's like very basic, but also elevated and elegant, and that is exactly what I'm expecting the looks that we get out of this palette to be. Basic but elegant and elevated. So let's take a look. Ooh, she is a beauty. Take a look right there at the stunning color story of this palette. Right off the bat, the first thing I am very excited about is the metallic finish that some of these shimmers have. Like that color right there in the center, that looks like it's going to be super pigmented, super shiny. The shade Mia down here as well, it looks so freaking stunning. And if you think about it, even though a lot of the colors in this palette right here are pretty common, there was nothing on the Natasha Denona line with this type of color story right here. So this is actually different from Natasha, and something that I wish I had seen in her line a while ago. I remember when I reviewed the Glam palette, which is the closest one to this one so far, that I was disappointed at the very limited amount of mattes in that palette, and I was also disappointed at the fact that the shimmers weren't really vibrant. They were like regular kind of muted shimmers, and I wanted something sparklier. I wanted something more. And so this palette right here solves both of those problems for me, because as you can see, it's almost half matte, half shimmer metallic shades, which is great. I think there is 7 matte and 8 shimmers, so almost half and half. The mattes have slightly different undertones to it, which I also love, because in the Glam palette they were even more monochromatic than this one, and most importantly, the shimmers look like they're going to be shiny and vibrant and exciting. So I cannot wait to dig in. Let's just go ahead and jump into the swatches. As per usual, I'm going to start with the entire first row first. Here are the first 4 shades: Stone, Whisper, Ella, and Vague right here. Let me grab a little bit more Vague. There we go. All of them, of course, nice and creamy. I wouldn't expect less from Natasha. And then the last color from the first row, this one is called Travertine. Take a look right there. It's like a nice cool toned taupey shimmer shade. This first row is cute, but it's kind of boring. The best shades are still to come. Here are the first 4 shades of row number 2. I'm very excited for the metallic shimmers. The first color is called Delia, which is a super stunning sparkly taupe. Silhouette, which is That didn't swatch, right? Silhouette, which is the darkest shade in the palette. And for the looks of it, it's one that you build up. The center shade I'm very excited about. This one is called Muse. Ooh, super, super stunning. And then we have the color Fair, which is going to be a great transition shade. Last shade of row number 2. I think you pronounce that filigree. I'm not sure. This one is extremely creamy. First 4 colors of row number 3. We have the shade Wit, which is a creamy matte. Sheen, which is a beautiful shimmer shade. This one has a really beautiful ethereal sparkle. Then we have the shade Tender. Let's add a little bit more to that one. And the shade Mesh right here, which I really like this light shade. It's kind of in between a taupe, but like with a bit of a hint of pink to it almost. It's really pretty. And then last but certainly not least, the last shade in row number 3. This one is called Mia, and it's also a really beautiful shimmer shade. So take a look right here at what the swatches of this palette look like. I was surprised that this shade right here wasn't more pigmented. However, I have always said Natasha makes her palettes extremely user-friendly, so it might be best that this one is a shade that slowly builds up intensity rather than a shade that might be too much too fast. But I'll tell you guys once I start playing with it on my eyeballs. There is a couple of shades amongst the mattes that have very similar undertones to it, like the shade Mesh would be the perfect transition to the shade Stone up here. These two are very similar, just one's a little bit more pigmented than the other. And the same thing with these two colors right here, which are Wit and Vague. Both of them have very similar undertones. This one would be a perfect transition for this shade up here. The other colors that might be a bit repeated throughout the palette are this type of shimmer tone right here, but they do have slightly different formulas and slightly different amount of shimmers to them. Anyways, I'm beyond excited to play with this palette, so let's go ahead and get into the looks. Let's get you guys a little closer, and to begin look number 1, I'm going to start with the shade Fair right here, and this is a Sigma E28 brush. So I'm going to use that color Fair as a base all throughout my eyelid area, all the way up to the underbrow. Everything's nice and matte and even. All of it is one shade. Next, with the same brush, the E28, I'm going to grab the shade Mesh, and I'm going to add it to the outer corner of my eye and inwards, just to start building up the crease ever so slightly, back and forth throughout the crease with my blending brush. I'm then grabbing the shade Stone up here. This one's a little bit more intense, and I'm going to once again, starting on the outer corner, intensify things back here and build it into the crease of the eye ever so slightly. And I'm still using the same brush, the E28 from Sigma. I feel like we could leave it here at this level of depth and that would totally be okay, but I want to use as many shades as I possibly can for these two looks, so I'm going to keep deepening up things just a little bit more. I'm going to switch to the Sigma E27, which is a pretty small blending brush, and I want to get the color Silhouette right here. This one looks so dark, but it looks like it's going to blend nicely by the way it's swatched. So I'm adding it to the outer third of my eyelid, and I'm bringing it into the crease, but like barely, you know? I remember when this palette was first revealed, this dark shade is definitely one of the colors that I was the most excited about, because I love a palette that has a lot of natural looking shades but that can go deep, you know, that you can get a little bit spicy with. So I'm very, very excited about the fact that the shade Silhouette exists within this palette and within this color story. And you can totally see the amazing difference that the shade Silhouette made. back with the bigger brush just to make sure that everything is diffusing nicely. And I want to grab this shade right here for the center of the eyelid. I remember this is one of the creamiest feeling shimmers in this palette. It doesn't have a ton of sparkle, but it feels almost like a cream. It is such a nice formula. And so I'm going to tap it in the center of the eyelid and then towards the smokiness a bit back here so that it blends nicely with the dark matte shades. Just tapping it in with my finger. The next color I think I want to use is the color Delia here, which is a bit more of a reflective, lighter type shade. And I'm going to add it kind of also in the center of the eyelid, but more towards the inner corner and blend it into the previous shade. Just tapping it in place. And you can see how this one is a bit lighter and it has a lot more sparkles to it. And I'm just leaving a teeny tiny space on the innermost corner of the eye because I want to use another shade there. So with the Sigma E57 brush, I'm going to grab the color Mia, which I have been dying to use. This one has a slight pink undertone to it, and I'm going to add it on the innermost corner of the eye, blending it into the previous shades. And I'm also going to kind of raise and define my eyelid space with it. So innermost corner, and we're going to bring it in a little bit higher than my natural crease, halfway across the crease of the eye. And I'm blending it with the previous shades. So take a look right here at what I have so far for look number one. I'm still missing the bottom half, and I'm totally leaving what I consider to be the most fun mattes and this middle glitter right here for look number two, because I don't know, I just always like to leave the things that I'm most excited about for last. For the under eye, first things first, I applied a brown eyeliner to my waterline. This one is from Glossier. I was looking for a Natasha Denona one that I swear I have, but I can't find it. So anyways, any brown eyeliner will do. And I want to bring the smokiness of the outer corner down to the under eye area. So with my firm shader brush from Sigma, which I use for the inner corner, but it's not clean, I'm going to get the color Silhouette with the tip of it right down here. And I'm going to add that dark smoky shade to the under eye area, around halfway in. Then with the small blending brush, the Sigma E27, I'm going to grab the shade Mesh down here. And this is going to be the shade that I'm going to use to blend out the smokiness. And I'm bringing it all the way to my tear duct area, back and forth down here. And so this right here is look number one before I put on any mascara or lashes. Take a look right there. And I'm not going to do mascara yet because I want to do look number two first. So let's go ahead and get started. So for look number two, I want to start with the shade Vague up here. And this is a reference number 15 brush I'm using. And I'm going to stipple Vague onto the crease of the eye and blend it back and forth all the way in and all throughout the crease of my eye. I don't know what I was doing. I was like, is this a transition shade? But it's not. I meant to grab the color Wit. This is the lighter of the two. As you can see, you don't even need a transition shade because that blended out nicely. But just for the sake of using as many shades as possible, I'm going to go to Wit next. And we are going to further smoke out what I just did. Let me see if I can just take some off with my finger because it was looking a little bit harsh on the inner part. And it's no wonder because I wouldn't have taken the darker color all the way up there. Alright, so shade Wit, reference number 15. And let's try this again. See, this is a little bit softer. And then with the reference number one and the color Vague, we are darkening up the outer corner and building up a bit more depth, a little bit more intensity right back here on the outer third of my eyelid. A little bit more. I think I want to do a halo eye, so I'm going to put Vague on the innermost corner of the eye as well, through the crease, and a little bit more back here. Because I made the mistake of taking this one a little bit too high, with a teeny tiny blending brush, this is the reference number 13, I'm going to grab the color Fair and I'm going to blend that shade right underneath the brow so that it softens up the crease of my eye a little bit more. And I leave any mistake I ever make in the videos because if I fix it, I want to show you guys how I fixed it. See, so now it looks a little bit more blended, a little bit more seamless going into the eyebrow. Crisis averted. I'm much more happier with the way that things look blended now. So let's see what shimmers I want to use for this one. Definitely Muse, but Muse is probably going to be the center shade. So let me grab Ella. I think I want to do Ella up here. I have it on my finger and I'm just going to tap it on the edge of the matte on both the outer and inner part of the eye. And then the star of the show, which is the shade Muse, which is the very metallic champagne color. And this is going to be the shade right in the center, right here. Look at how that shines. Wow. This is a reference number 14 brush with nothing added. I'm just softening up that upper edge of the shimmer because it was intense. I think that's a little better. All right, a little more right in the center, close to the lash line down here. And a little bit more Ella on the edges so that the transition from very, very sparkly to matte is also a little bit smoother. This looks very, very pretty. I want to mimic what I did on top underneath the eye, which with this much sparkle might be a little challenging. So I'm going to use very small brushes. This is a reference number 3 and I'm going to tap into the shade Vague. And I'm going to add that shade right underneath my tear duct area back and forth. I feel like this is going to make me sneeze. It's very ticklish. And also on the outermost corner down here, back and forth. I had forgotten to add the brown eyeliner, so I just added the same brown eyeliner to my waterline. And I'm just going to keep doing what I was doing, inner and outer corners with the shade Vague. So right in the center of the under eye with the same reference number 3 brush that I cleaned, I'm going to go straight in with the shade Muse. And I'm going to apply it right in the center of my under eye area with a reference number 13 and the shade Wit, which is the lightest peach shade. I'm going to smoke all of that out. I had a little bit of fallout underneath this eye. Disclaimer, I'm doing a wear test for a new foundation that I'm testing out right now, and it's not wearing the best. So if you see any patchiness on my face, just know that it's a new foundation I've never used before, and it is acting a little crazy. Anyways, the last step for look number 2 is the inner corner shade, for which I want to use the shade Sheen right here on a reference number 26. And I'm just going to add Sheen right on the innermost corner of the eye. So without any mascara or lashes, take a look right here at the second look with this Natasha Denona palette. Low-key, I really want to use the darkest shade in the palette on this eye as well, but I'm going to leave it alone. I just really like the way this is super smoky and cool toned. I think that from these two looks, this one here is definitely my favorite. Back with mascara on, so if you were to only do mascara, here's what you can expect your looks to be like. I do want to add half lashes. These right here are from Bright Lashes. I tried them recently and I've been loving them. Anyways, the mascara I'm wearing, which I have been really loving lately, is the new Anastasia mascara. So let me go ahead and put the half lashes on to show you guys the finished looks. I'm back with the lashes on, and so much has happened since you last saw me. I ended up completely switching gears on the lashes I was going to use because I had applied a lot of mascara and the half lashes weren't really working well for me. Plus, I have used those half lashes like 5 times. So, I don't know, it was looking a little weird. It was obvious that they were only half lashes instead of the full band. So, I ended up switching to the Ardell X Sephora lashes. These are foaming lashes and the style is 018 Dramatic. So here are the looks with mascara and with some dramatic lashes applied from Ardell. And then I also added some blush and a lip look to finish off the whole thing. For blush, I used a Gucci one. Everything as per usual is listed and linked in the description box of this video. And for lips, I had to go for the I Need a Nude lip combo from Natasha Denona, which I have loved since it launched. This is the size of my lip liner at the moment. Really, really tiny. We are getting down there. It's one of my favorite lip liners in my collection, clearly. And then the gloss on top, which I absolutely love. I want to give you guys a little close-up of the finished looks, so take a look right here at look number 1. This one, like I said, is my favorite from these two because I just love the cool tones with the hint of pink. And this halo eye right here, which is extra sparkly and I also love, is the finished second look with this palette. The swatches are done, the looks are completed, so let's move on to the comparisons, and there's two main palettes that I just needed to compare this one to. One of them is of course from Natasha Denona herself. We definitely need to compare this palette right here, the I Need a Nude palette, to the Natasha Denona Glam palette. So I'm going to be doing some side-by-side swatch comparisons with these two. And then the other palette that I definitely need to put side-by-side with this one is the Ethereal Eyes palette from Makeup by Mario, because boy do these look similar. So we'll do some swatch comparisons with these two. To begin our comparison, take a look at the palettes side by side. As you can see, the I Need a Nude palette from Natasha, which is at the top, it's a much more neutral leaning palette. It even has a couple of warm tones in there, versus the Glam palette from Natasha Denona is definitely just all cool tones, and there is a few shades of like pure silvery steel looking colors that really stand apart from the I Need a Nude palette. Take a look right here. These are the pewter looking shades that I'm referring to. These are very different from anything you can find in the I Need a Nude palette. These are very distinctively a Glam palette feature. And now take a look right here at every single shade that I found that looks even remotely similar from the two different palettes. The swatches on top are the swatches from the I Need a Nude palette, and then the swatches underneath are the swatches from the Glam palette. As you can see, there are a couple of shades that look similar to one another. In particular, I would say these bronzy shades right here look kind of similar, and the golds right here, although they sparkle differently. But then the rest of the shades, even though they're similar in depth, have pretty different undertones. I can't stop staring at my eyes. These looks are so freaking stunning. So now let's compare I Need a Nude to the Makeup by Mario palette, and once again I want to start by putting them side by side right here. I will say these have a lot of similarities between them. The main difference is that the I Need a Nude palette has some peachy orangey mattes in there that are different from this one, because this one has more so warm brown types of shades like this one and that one, and you can't find those in this one. So literally just a slight difference in some of the mattes. Let me show you the side-by-side comparisons. Take a look right here. Obviously the Natasha Denona one on top also has more shades to choose from than the Makeup by Mario one, but a lot of the shades are pretty similar. This is the difference I was telling you in the undertone of the matte. See how this is much more orangey warm brown, and this is much more like peachy. And then the same thing goes for the base shades right here. This is much more neutral and this is much more yellow. These shimmers are different. These two up here are cool toned in the I Need a Nude palette, versus this one has a different undertone to it. It's much more silver rather than brown. And that's it. Like I said, Natasha has more shades to choose from, but the undertones of the rest of the shades are pretty similar. So with that, let me give you guys my final thoughts on this beauty right here. I personally love it, and I see myself reaching for this palette over and over and over again. I know that this is not the most innovative color story, but it is different for Natasha Denona. I am definitely very excited that she continues to bring the shimmery metallic shades into the midi palettes, which I was asking for for so long. So my heart is so content that we are getting glittery metallic shades in the midi palettes. That's literally all I've ever wanted. Very excited about that. I love the depth this palette has. This dark brown shade definitely brings a lot of smokiness to this palette. This palette is super glamorous and extremely easy to use as well. This might be a more common color story, but this is going to end up being the palette, if you're like me at least, that you reach for on a daily basis, that you take with you on vacation. This is a palette that is reliable. The formulas are beautiful. Everything works amazingly with each other. You have some cool tones, you have some warmer tones in there, and you can literally create a look with this palette for every single occasion ever. And you have shades that are not only going to look beautiful and perform well, but that are going to complement any occasion and any outfit that you decide to put on. So to me, this is a 10 out of 10. If you already have the now discontinued Makeup by Mario palette, they are pretty similar to one another, so maybe you can skip on this one. I wouldn't though. It's super pretty and it does have extra shades in there for you. Plus you can't get this one anymore. Unfortunately, he needs to bring that back. Anyways, I love it. I give it a 10 out of 10 and I highly recommend it. I am obsessed with the looks that I created for today's video. I can't wait to continue to play with it. I can't wait to do a 5 looks, 1 palette with it. I am dying to know what you guys think. So what are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comment section. If you are interested in buying this palette, I'm going to leave you the links down below for it. It's at Sephora, Beautylish, and Ulta, and of course the Natasha Denona website. So all of the links are in the description box. Whenever you use my links, you are helping out my channel. Now I would suggest that you get it with a discount because why not? Natasha Denona has amazing shipping. It is super fast. With this palette, I'm pretty sure you meet the minimum for the free shipping threshold, and you can save 15% off of your purchase if you use my code PATTY15. So if you shop for it on the Natasha Denona website, you can save 15% off with my code PATTY15. Otherwise, it is also available at the rest of the retailers I just mentioned. If you have any specific look requests for the 5 looks 1 palette video, leave them in the comment section. I always read the comments. I love you all so much. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Bye.